So ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Fly Island Guy and welcome back to my channel, or just welcome if this is your first time. So today is an exciting day for me here on this channel since this is the first time that I'm actually flying an actual proper big jet. So as we all know, the Aerosoft CRJ was released a few weeks ago, and a lot of people have had a chance to try it out and mess around with it. And so today is going to be the first time I'm doing this on my channel. So I've taken some time to kind of practice things a little bit and kind of get the hang of the jet. And I'd say right now I'm not 100% there yet, but I'm getting there though. So let's hop into the cockpit. Let's get started. We're going to be doing a full startup from cold and dark, and then we're going to go through the flight as usual. So, as I said, let's hop to the cockpit and let's get started. Alright, so here we are in the cockpit of the CRJ. We are in the CRJ 550 variant today. I just prefer to start with the smaller version of the jet just to get the hang of things. This is I'd say it's a fairly study level aircraft, and I know that I wouldn't be able to really fully understand this jet without a checklist. So firstly, I just want to give a big shout out to Clumsy of Clumsy Gaming for doing us all a huge solid and creating a checklist for us to go through. 1 second. Sorry about that. So he's created a checklist for us to go through, and I'm just showing you the checklist here. It's really easy to follow, and what I recommend for anyone who's really starting off in this jet is to take your time and go through this checklist, understand where all these buttons and switches are, and just keep doing that a few times until you're comfortable with the aircraft. So I'm basically going to be following this checklist, and we are going to be doing a flight today from Havana, Cuba to Montego Bay, Jamaica. It's a really short flight. So let's get things started. So first and foremost, if you all could see, the plane does not start up from cold and dark right off the bat. I'm not too sure why it does not do that. But what we'll do is we'll make sure we'll get the plane in the cold and dark state first, and then go from there. So the actual checklist starts off with us turning on our EFB, which is like the flight tablet. And also, just quick heads up, there has been an update to this aircraft. I'm not running the update yet, but I will. I just want to kind of get this video done first before I actually do it. But we'll be using the original version. They've actually improved this quite a lot in the update. So the first thing we'll do is we'll turn on the EFB, and then we will put the aircraft in a cold and dark state, which you do by going to the aircraft tab, and then we'll come right into the corner here and we will choose cold and dark. Okay. So I think before the battery was switched on initially, so now we've kind of have everything switched off and ready to go. All right. One thing is I don't 100% like the field of view in this cockpit. It feels kind of warped to me, and the cabin is the same way. But we'll take a look at that as we go through. All right, so I've set up some custom views here, so I'll make it a little easier for me to kind of navigate around the cockpit. So the first thing that we need to do now that we are in a cold and dark state is to place the wheel chocks. So once again, we're in the aircraft tab, and we'll place the wheel chocks Now you can see that's switched to removed. Actually, they're already on there. So let's put them back in place, and then we will connect our ground power unit, and you should hear like a truck pulling up now. There it is. Just drove straight out the building. Pretty cool magic trick, and there it goes again. But we're gonna wait. We're gonna just kind of keep going through as we get things set up. Okay. So while that's getting set up, we're also going to open the doors. So let's not worry about the jetway for now. So we'll just open our side door, and it'll have the stairs on it. And let's also open our forward nav cargo doors. Okay. So once again, let's just run outside, take a look at that. So you'll see our wheel chocks are on, and our door is now open. And there's our forward nav cargo doors open. Okay. All right. So now that that's done, next step is to turn on the battery. So battery is on, and the GPU should be on. As you can see, it's showing as available right now. So there we go. So we've connected it. All right. Cool. So things are looking good. All right. So next thing that we'll do is we'll turn on our nav lights and hydraulics, hydraulic 3A. So if we just look right there, the hydraulics are labeled. So let's put that to on. Okay. Interior lights as required. I'm not going to worry too much with any lights right now. Next thing is the AREX. So AREX, will put that in nav. One of the hardest things, as I said, about these checklists is just knowing where everything is. So take time to really scan the cockpit and familiarize yourself. As we know, every airplane is sort of different, especially when you go between manufacturers. So just trying to get an idea for where everything is before you start looking at the checklist. Okay. All right. So next thing on the checklist is ground services. So let's go back to that. Actually, we won't worry about that. But if you want to really simulate that, you can go ahead and do that. I'm not worrying with that right now. All right, so now we're going to go into the actual FMS programming. Okay. So first thing that we're going to do in the FMS is pause init. Now, I'm not too sure if I'm doing this 100% correctly, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I know you can kind of pull this position if you want and just set it inside here. What I've been doing is putting in our destination airport and then taking that value. All right. So from there, we will go to flight plan. And so we're going to put in our origin destination airports. We're going to go MUHA, and destination is MKJ. JS. All right. Distance of 369 nautical miles. And now we'll look at our flight plan in SimBrief. 1 second here. Just trying to get Navigraph set up as well. So our flight plan today will have us. So we do have a standard instrument departure and arrival. So we're going to start from. Actually, I'll start with this. So let's go. Well, let's start with the arrival, mainly because I've had issues where the waypoints kind of get duplicated and stuff. If I kind of put in waypoints first, or I can't start with an airway if I want to. It's sort of weird. So I normally wouldn't do it this way, but I'll start with our departure. It's up to you how you want to do this. You might have to go in and clean it up afterwards. This is just how I'm doing it right now for this flight. So we're leaving runway 6 in Havana, and we're going to be doing the Kavua 5A departure, and we're going to be using the UCL transition. So just pop that in, you can execute it. All right, now in our flight plan, you can see we have via the it's instrument departure, and the first waypoint in that departure. And what we'll do now is we will go to the next page. So that has us coming out at UCL. So the next thing in our flight plan is UG 442, which is an airway. We'll pop that in. That airway ends at Alora. Pop that in. Boom. Then next is G442, which is another airway. And that ends at Adsel, which is also kind of the entryway for our arrival into Montego Bay. So let's go. We can execute this. Let's go back to departure arrival, and let's go back to the index, and let's choose the arrival now, and we'll do the ILS 07 approach with the OMAXI 5 star. And our transition is Adsel. Okay. I think that was already selected. That's why it's saying cell. So we could execute that. All right. So how do you actually step through on this plane? So what you'll do is you'll come over to this little side panel, and I think this back knob right here is how you actually switch through. So now we go here. If you see how all of this changes, this is how you know that you're in plan mode. Okay. And then if you're familiar with the what do you call it? The citation, CJ4. Now you can go and hit this MFD advance button, and you'll be able to advance through your waypoints. Okay. before you advance through all your waypoints, what I like to do normally is just kind of go into the actual flight plan and just check for discontinuities. So there's one there. And if you look, and this is what I'm talking about with this particular flight plan, you have ADSL here, then a discontinuity, and then there's ADSL again with the actual nautical mile value. So what I'll do is I'll select this guy, and then I'll go back to the previous page, and then I'll just drop it here. Okay. Let's keep going through. There is another discontinuity here. I'm just going to double check. Okay, so we have two Amaxis here now. Now this one's just here with no altitude restriction, and then there's one here with an altitude restriction. So I'll just go boom, select that guy, drop it inside here. Okay, and let's continue. All right, so this is our missed approach. All of that looks good, so I'll just hit execute. And now we can actually go back through our planned, go back through our flight plan and just check that everything is all right. If I remember correctly, there's still like a little weirdness going on with it, but I haven't had any issues when I've done my test flights, so it should be good to go. So have the advance. All right, just kind of going through again. Oops. So just stepping through. Actually, yeah, that looks good. All right, cool. So we'll switch this back. All right. So next thing on our checklist is to do the perf-init. Now, this is where things get sort of weird for me. And I'm not going to lie, and I'm going to say that I still like fumble through this, so bear with me. So if we go back to flight plan, and then we'll go to perf-init. Our cruise altitude today is 33,000. All right. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So in your EFB, we'll go to the performance tab. As I said, all of the way that this looks and feels is changed in the update, but this will just kind of give you an idea of how things work. So I'll go in to my flight plan and sim brief. And I will now go to this weights section, and this is where I'm going to be pulling a lot of this information from. All right. Okay, so in terms of passengers, we have 48 passengers on the flight today. So this is a full flight. Now here's where it starts to get kind of iffy for me, because our cargo here is 0, but the payload is 5. So, but I don't know. I have a feeling the payload may be a combination of your fuel and your cargo, but I actually have no idea. So what I'll do is I'll go to fuel first, and we're taking 3,500 kilograms of fuel. So we'll leave it about there. 3,573. That's fine for me. And let's see. Our takeoff weight is supposed to be 27.6. So what I'll do is I will. Actually, I don't know what to do here. Yeah, this is where I start to get confused a little bit. Let's just say If our fuel is 3.5 and our payload is 5.0, I have no idea here. I literally have no idea. So what we'll do, actually, we'll just kind of leave this as is. And we'll leave it as is, because what's really important here is that the EFB kind of does all these calculations for you. So now that we've done that, we will kind of we'll do the copy perf init data to FMS. There's a step in here to do init fuel from aircraft. And I'm just going to double check this. I don't know. That's, as I said, this is where it gets a little confusing for me. But what we'll do is we'll just kind of use what's in here for now. To date, this hasn't really affected anything for me. So what we'll do is we'll copy perf init data to FMS. And now everything should be in here. Okay. So now that we're done with that, we will set our takeoff speeds. So that's also in the EFB. Takeoff speeds are calculated on the right hand side. And we could just do set all. And now we should see them over in the left hand corner. So our V1 and our V rotate speed today is going to be 125 knots. And V2 will be 136. Okay. All right. After that, we will be, if you're on air, that's the next step. You could do like start flight. But what we'll do now is we will go to the VNAV setup in the FMS. All right, so I know for climb out, our transition altitude is 3,000 feet. And so that's all we really need to change there. And then we can go to the next page. Actually, no, we don't need to do that. We'll go to perf init. Sorry. We'll go to the perf button. That's the next thing. So after you do your VNAV setup, you'll hit the perf button, and inside here, we'll set our flex temp. Flex temp will be 46. Okay. All right. And then on the Copilot FMS, we could just set this to legs. All right. So we're pretty much all done as far as setting the FMS up is concerned and all our performance information. All right. Actually, I'm going to do one thing. Let's do init fuel from aircraft, actually. Because I'm not sure if this automatically sets our I don't know if this automatically sets our fuel once we set it up in here. Alright, so I just copied that performance data back into the FMS. Okay, yeah, fuel's been updated. Alright. And just gonna update this again. See, now this is saying our maximum takeoff rate is exceeded. Alright, actually, let's just leave it where it was with 36 passengers. I'll have to kind of go back and take a look at this. But, I mean, honestly, like, once you kind of update make sure your fuel's good, and kind of update your numbers, all you're really doing is copying this data into the FMS, okay? So sorry for confusing guys there, but as I said, this is where it's a little iffy for me as well. Okay, so now that we're done, we will go to... we're going to head back up top, and we are going to turn on our hydraulics. Oops. Actually, one sec. I'm just going to double check that I'm doing that right. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Hydraulics. That's where we were initially. There's these guys here. We're going to set all of these guys to auto. Okay. And next thing we're going to do is set our landing elevation. Now, this one, if we go like here, actually, let me come down. So I think let's choose status, I believe, and then if you look on this screen right here, you're gonna see this little landing LEV area. So sorry, I see a little better. Landing LEV. So make sure that that's where you're gonna be like looking to see what your landing elevation value is, and that's gonna be at your destination airport. So you actually change that by adjusting this guy. So if you look down, see how that number is updated by changing that knob. Now for me, I'm going to leave it at 0 because I think the landing elevation at Montego Bay Airport is like -4. It's like 4 feet. So I'm just going to leave it at 0. All right. So that's -40, 30, 90, 10, 0. Oops. That's a 40. What? Oh, it goes in 20s. Okay. Alright, now it should be at 0. Cool. Alright, so next thing is the windshield heat. So that's on this side. Windshield heat is set to low. And non-smoking sign on. Okay. Seatbelts on. And emergency lights are armed. Okay. Next is stab trim. That is down here. We engage those. This doesn't light up or anything, so just make sure that you've pressed them. And then our mock trim is also engaged as well. The light goes out when you press it. The yaw damper, we have to make sure that our IRS is aligned first. And our IRS is aligned if you can see all this good stuff up here. Like initially it doesn't look like this, but if it does look like this, then it's aligned. So once that's done, we can go ahead and engage the yaw damper as well. All right, so at this point, we are pretty much ready to start the engines. So let's go back now to getting the APU started up. So in order to do that, there's this isolation option here, or ISO. So you'll hit open. Now if we go outside, there should be a little door in the back here. Okay, so it's not open. But there should be a little door here that's open. So that may not be the right one, but that's what I've always been pressing, and I've probably been pressing the wrong thing. So let's see. Here again is where the instructions get a little iffy for me. What I normally do is I will turn these boost pumps on. And now that that's open, I think that you could now hit... Nope. Yeah. So it's a little weird for me again. So turn these guys on. That's odd. Let's see. So bleed. It's not about bleed here. So let me just check. So it says the APU door is closed. So I know that's why it's not starting. But how do you actually open it? I'm pretty sure it's that switch there. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. All right. What I'll do is, so the next steps inside here is to close the doors. So I'm just gonna follow the steps to see if this makes a difference. So we'll go ahead and close our passenger door. We'll close our cargo doors.
Captain, the cabin is secure. All passengers are aboard.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the captain and crew, welcome aboard this flight. We hope you enjoy flying with us. Before takeoff, we would like to encourage all passengers to watch our cabin crew display the safety features of the aircraft.
Okay, there we go. Alright, so I guess it was the doors that had to be closed. No idea there. So let's just go back outside. Now, as you can see, this little door is open. And you can hear the APU starting up. So if we actually look in the cockpit now, if we switch to, where is it? Oops. We switch to electric view. electrical systems. Wait, no, not that one. Status. There we go. If you look on the status page now, you can see, you can actually see the APU temperature rising. So, kind of once the APU temperature is warm enough, we'll see the available light show up. Okay, so it looks like it's actually stabilized now. So go up. There we go. So our APU is now available. All right. I know this is a little messy. Sorry, but we're getting through. All right. So now the APU is available. We'll turn our AC packs on. And our recirculation fan is also on. And you should be able to hear the AC kicking in now. All right. And I will go and we will remove our ground power unit. And we'll remove the chocks. Okay. Let's go back outside now. See, no chocks. Ground power unit's driving away. Alright, so we will go, we'll now just check the weather. We've already done that, but for what I see here, Havana today is winds out of 110 at 2 knots, so hardly any winds today. Temperature 17 degrees, and the altimeter is 3015 or 1021 hectopascals. So what we'll do is we could switch over to inches, and we'll just go 3015. Okay. All right, and so after we've set our barrels, which is what I just did, we'll get clearance from the ATC. We're not using ATC today, so we're not worrying about that. Flight director is on, and we'll set our altitude. So we're just going to be going straight up to 33,000. So just going to put that in. Oops. And I feel like that takes forever in this plane. Okay. There you go. 33,000 set. Our runway heading is, I believe, 060. So we can set that. Departure frequency, we're not going to worry about that, but we'll be setting that now, and the squawk, we'll be setting that now. And now we can go ahead and turn our beacons on, and we could start pushback. So I am going to be using better pushback today. So let's go to my desktop where I have it saved. Sorry, I said better pushback, sorry. Pushback helper. So we'll go ahead and activate it. And boom. So tug should be coming in now. That's also appearing out of the wall, which is also weird. So we've started our pushback. I'm gonna turn my parking brakes off. And pushback should be starting anytime soon. So there you go. So we're just going to do a straight pushback today. And in the meantime, I've also set up some wing views. I'm not gonna lie, I do not like the cabin in this aircraft at all. I don't like how it looks at all. It's kind of low quality. So I'm not really feeling it, but I just like to use it to look out the window. Okay. Alright, so let's start this. Okay, pushback is done. So we'll get the engine started now. So turn the parking brake on. And now fuel pump should already be on. And cool. So we'll hit this ignition button, and then we'll start our right engine. And yeah, you can see right there, engine starting up. And we're gonna wait for I believe N2 to be greater than 20%. You know what? What I actually haven't done, and this is something that you should do as well. It's not in the steps. Is to take your throttles out of the shut-off position. So put them in idle. Actually, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put the engine that you're starting, you move it into idle when you're starting the engine, right? So that's, yeah, after your N2 goes over 20%, then you move the throttle into the idle position. And now we can see N1 rising.
Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention as we display the safety features and procedures of the aircraft in case of an emergency. During an emergency, please remain in your seats with your seatbelts fastened and your seats in the upright position. In case of a drop in cabin pressure, breathing masks will drop from the ceiling and should be placed over your head. If there is smoke in the cabin during the evacuation of the aircraft, the walkway emergency lights will display the exits, which are
so once N1
here
stabilized,
and here.
we'll do the same thing for the other engine.
Landing, you'll be instructed to get into the brace position, which is executed by placing your head between
So
your
now we'll
knees
start the
with your
left
hands
engine.
over your head. We would also like to remind you that you should turn off all electronic devices. We thank you for paying attention during this brief presentation.
And we're going to wait for N2 to rise above 20%, and then we'll move the throttle into the idle position. 20%, throttle idle. N1 should now start to raise. All right. Cool. Alright, so we're good to go. Both engines are stabilized now. Everything's looking good. And what we'll do now is I will shut off the APU. And we'll turn off the ignition as well, as we don't need either anymore. And we'll turn on anti-ice as required, but you know, we're in the Caribbean right now, so we don't need it. And we'll turn the probe heat on. Alright, so that's pretty much it as far as the pre-startup and startup checklist is concerned. So now we'll get ready for taxi. So what we'll do is we'll turn on our nose wheel steering, which is right here on the left. That's armed. And taxi lights on. And we'll set flaps to takeoff, which is 8. So that's just 2 clicks. Sorry, that's 20 degrees. So it's 2 clicks down here. No, actually, I lie. It is 8. Right? But whatever button you assign to your flaps, it should be 2 clicks essentially. Alright? So let's check our flight controls. We could actually do that here. So we go to press the flight control button. Oh, here's the flight control screen. Just make sure everything is moving and looks good. Alright. Need to set our trim. So performance is supposed to be at 5.8. So let's go back to our status screen. And the trim, just here, should be 5.8. Okay, I think that's 5.8. Oh, 5.9, 5.8. Okay, and arm the reversers. Reversers are down to our right here. Arm, and that is it. So now we're ready to head to the runway and take off. So I'm just gonna bring up the map over here in Navigraph for Havana, and then we'll get moving. Alright, so runway 6 is gonna be straight ahead. So one thing I feel like this plane just feels super heavy. I don't know if it's because I'm just not used to flying anything this size. But yeah, it always just feels super heavy to me. Well, it's a beautiful day for flying today in Cuba. I can tell you now that takeoff is going to be very messy for me. Still trying to get the hang of that as well. This runway here in Cuba is very long, or in the Havana is very long. It's actually 13,000 feet. So as we said before, our takeoff speed today is we're aiming for 125 knots to rotate.
Marty, ground November 89er 82 with Alpha, request taxi for takeoff departing straight out. November 89er 82 taxi to and hold short of runway 06 using taxiway Delta Alpha.
I hit the parking brake just now. I hit the parking brake by mistake just now. Sorry about that. I did not mean to do that.
Taxi to and hold short runway 06 via taxiway Delta Alpha 9er 82.
So that's going to be annoying because I'm going to probably have ATC screaming at us when we take off. I'm going to close this guy. Looks like our GA ramp over here. So when we take off, we need to make sure that our throttle's in the climb detent. So this is similar to the CJ4.
The captain has advised that we are now cleared for takeoff.
All right. So before we enter the runway, we're just going to do our takeoff checklist real quick. So we're going to set our fuel cross flow to manual, and going to make sure our TCAS is set. Should leave this down here. TCAS is auto. That's cool. I'll leave that as is. Strobes. Strobes are on. Landing lights on. Taxi lights off. Toggle switch, we will press that in a second. Throttles, toggle, okay. So all the rest is actually for oh shoot. Oh my god, I didn't know it was still rolling. Alright, let's get lined up. One other thing that I'll do before we get started is set the heading log. Alright, I'm gonna put the speed. I'm gonna bug the speed to 185. Oh god. Sorry. Ah, that little scrolly thing is annoying. Okay. Okay, 185. Cool. And also hit the toggle button, which is that top screw right there. Alright. Let's go. So put our throttles to toggle. You should see the enunciation right here. And we're aiming for 125. Now, so rotate. Gear up. I just like to kind of trim out a little bit. Alright, so we turn autopilot on. And we'll hit speed mode. And let's go nav mode as well. Alright, and we'll pull our throttle back to climb. Actually, it's in climb mode now, which is good. Let's increase the speed to 250. And go flaps up. Alright, so right now the plane is going to try to speed up to 250, and once it hits 250, it will continue its climb. That's what's going on right now. So we're good to go. Alright, so now it's hit 250 knots, and you're going to see that it's going to start climbing again. So, after takeoff checklist, reversers off, don't need them. We'll set our fuel flow to auto. Taxi lights are off, should turn that off already. I'll do seatbelts off at maybe 10,000 feet. And once we reach 10,000 feet, we'll set our speed to 290 knots. Our barrel should already be at transition altitude. Because we transition altitude is at 3,000 feet. So we set that our altimeter to standard now. And now we are just climbing out. So I think we are not at full climb power. So I'm just gonna increase to full climb power. Because I kind of dialed it back when we were taking off. Alright, so here we go, folks. So we are on our way now. Just following our flight plan. We are climbing right now. Actually, we just crossed 10,000 feet. So we will switch off our landing lights. And now we will also set our speed for 290 knots. Clear day outside, everything's looking good. Let's also turn the seatbelt sign off now. Alright. So, good. I'm going to take a little break for a bit. We are just climbing out now. We're just heading up to 33,000 feet. And yeah, everything's looking good. As I said, this is a fairly short flight. It's about maybe hour 15, hour 20 minutes to Jamaica. So when I come back, we should be starting our descent, or we would have started our descent at that point. And we'll kind of go through the remaining checklist for that, and let's hope that goes smoothly, because honestly, that is the part of flying this aircraft for me that's still like sort of throwing me off. I cannot get a smooth landing to save my life, and ILS is sort of iffy as well. I haven't gotten it quite to work 100% either. I can get it to capture localizer, but glide slope, sort of iffy. Alright. Actually, before we go, the other thing that I just want to quickly discuss is just my overall thoughts on the aircraft. As I said, this is not the updated version, so my thoughts may change with that, but so far, I'm loving the aircraft in that it is, for me, this is probably one of the most complex aircraft I've flown to date. And so it's really good to get into something that's that's more realistic, something that actually requires for me to follow a checklist for things to go smoothly, and I think it's a great aircraft. Anybody who kind of wants to start getting into something a little more study level, this is a great aircraft to start with. And outside of the A32MX, and I could be wrong with this, but this is probably like the only real sort of like study level aircraft option that you have right now. Others will be coming soon, but this is what we have for now. As I said, what I don't like is the cabin. And I know people may say, "Oh, that's a bit of a cheap gripe. Like you're really all about like flying this aircraft. Like, so it's the systems that's important." Yes, that's true. But I do spend a lot of time in cabins as well, especially like what you guys see is really the takeoff and the landing. But for me, I spend a lot of time in the cabin, like when I'm not because I don't record those parts of the flight because they're boring and they're long for you guys. So my videos are actually long enough without that in there. So yeah, the cabin is really kind of disappointing with these low quality textures. So I'm hoping that gets changed at some point. I know, there's issues with frame rates, etc., but I mean, like, this just looks gross. So kind of blocky chairs, like blurry. I wish these look better because it sort of ruins the immersion a little bit. But it is what it is. I'm not going to kind of duck them too much for that because we're really here to fly the aircraft, not sit in the cabin. So, yeah. Outside of that, I am going to, as I said, take a break, and I'll be back when we are starting our descent into Montego Bay. So take care, and I'll talk to you guys then. Peace. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We are starting our descent into Montego Bay. I had a couple issues with my FMS just now, which kind of had us going all over the place. But now we're settled. We're heading towards our waypoint. Currently, we're just holding at 17,500. But once we hit Atzel, we're going to be continuing our descent into Montego Bay. While we are getting there, we have about 24 nautical miles to go. I just want to take a quick look at the approach into Montego Bay. So we'll be doing, let's bring it up here in Navigraph. So we'll be doing the ILS runway 7 approach, which will basically require us to do a DME arc towards Amaxi. So Amaxi, we have to be there at 3,000 feet. So once we hit this next waypoint, we're going to be starting our descent. We're just going to be going through the descent profile, and we're going to be eventually coming in at 3,000 feet to shoot the ILS approach into Montego Bay. So what I want to show you guys, well, firstly, before we do that, let's program the information into the FMS. So let's tune the ILS, which is 109.5. So what we'll do is we'll go to radio, and we'll do 109.5. I like to put them into both nav radios, and we'll do that here as well. We'll just click on that, do that here, and make sure that these are set to auto, and that will auto tune the ILS for you. Alright, so that's already in. There'll be another step kind of once we're actually shooting the landing. Like, we'll have to actually set the localizer course, but in the meantime, what I want to show you is, if you have everything set up correctly, when you are shooting or doing your descent into your destination, if you hit the DIR INTC screen, sorry, I'm just trying to watch my speed right now because I'm pretty low. Sorry, that was me trying to make corrections from before. If you go into the DIR INTC screen, it'll actually tell you the vertical speed that you need to be at in order to hit your next waypoint. So right now we're heading towards Adsel. We're already at 17,500, so it's telling us that we don't need to do anything. So what will happen is our next waypoint, which is this R320M waypoint, we have to be at 9,000 feet. And in order to hit that, it's telling us we have to descend at 1,100 feet per minute. So we're 9 nautical miles out now. So what I'm going to do is, I like to I'll put the plane in vertical speed mode right away, and we will move our altitude down to 9,000 feet. Can't really see there. So it's 9,900. 3, 2, 1, 0, and what we could do is we could even just start the descent now if we want. So I'll just move our throttles back to idle, and we're gonna set this to 1,100 feet per minute. Okay. So there you go. 1,100 feet per minute. Now to drop down to 1,000. So let's go down a little more. And it doesn't have to be exact, but you want to be kind of in the vicinity of. Alright. So we've kind of started our descent already. And so we're now descending at 1,100 feet per minute for 9,000 feet to intercept our next waypoint at 9,000 feet. And now, as you can see, the little banana should be like lining up, hopefully, to tell us where we're supposed to be at. We shall see. There we go. It's coming back down. So what you also need to do from time to time is just check the FMC to make sure you're descending at the right speed. So right now we're just a little slower than we should be. So I'm going to go to like 1,300 feet per minute. And as you can see, the banana moves down a little closer. But that should kind of get us where we need to be. Alright, so we're going to pull up our checklist once again now that we're in descent. So we already set our landing elevation. Let's set our minimum decision altitude, or our minimums. So at this airport right now, minimums is 304 feet for this specific approach. So we'll set that here. We'll set it to MDA, and we'll click this little button right here to bring it up, and we'll set it to 304. 310 is fine. You can't get exactly 304. Alright. Coming through the clouds now. The clouds look super thick. So part of the checklist as well is to follow the vertical speed. As I said, there was something actually wrong with the way my FMS was set up at the time. It looked like I had started changing something and I never actually executed the change. So my top of descent didn't show. But normally you'd see, like, see this top of descent marker right here? You should see something like that show up. And that tells you when to actually start your descent. And then you actually follow the vertical speed prompts in the FMS to get you to where you need to go. Also need to check our transition altitude, which is 17,000. So we've actually crossed it a while ago. So I've just updated the barrel to what it's supposed to be. And now if you look, we have the ghost, it's called the ghost ILS showing up now. So Loc 1 is actually available. And what we're going to do is, as we get closer, like when we're starting to get close to that terminal final, we could actually switch over our nav source to Loc 1. So we can shoot the ILS approach. What else do we need to do? We need to set our speed bug for 290 knots. Not too worried about that right now. Or at 250 feet below 14,000 feet. Landing lights are going to come on at 10,000. So I'm just going to get that out the way now because I just want to make sure it's already done. I'm just trying to stay ahead of our checklist. Alright. Our next altitude that we have to go for is 4,100 feet. That next waypoint. Looks like we're a little high on approach right now. Or sorry, on our vertical speed. So I'm just going to increase it a little bit. Okay. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start for our next altitude, which is 4,100 feet. So just going to go to that one. I'm going to set that. We're actually very near to Jamaica right now. It should be in front of us. There we go. There it is. Well, actually, all in front of us. A lot of it's obscured by cloud. So we're crossing through 9,000 and we have to descend at 1,100 feet per minute to hit 4,100. So let's just do that one. Actually, I don't need to. Alright, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit on our flight plan. So we need to be at 4,100 feet by sea of 3. Alright. So we're in approach mode right now. Let's we're gonna set our landing speeds from the EFB. So landing speeds right now should be V2 is 136 knots, VFTO is 178, VREF is 128. So we should be shooting for maybe about I'll say about 140 knots. So we're gonna go ahead and set those. And so we're making our turn soon. We're going to be lining up for the approach. We're 9 nautical miles out now. Seatbelts on. Speed bug should be set for 210 knots. And we've already checked the RLS frequency. We're gonna arm the reverses, and I'm gonna actually switch our nav source now to loc 1. It's now loc 1, and our course is 072. All right, make sure that's out the way. All right. Heading should be 072. So we're gonna set our flaps soon. We'll go to flaps 1 actually. And at 190 knots. And 180 we can go to flaps 8. I'm also going to turn on approach mode. So we're at 4,100 feet. Our next altitude will be 3,500 feet. So I'm just going to put that in right now. Going flaps 2. And we could actually go, so that's flaps 8. Let's go flaps 20. And we should be making the turn soon onto final. Okay, so we're starting our turn towards the airport. Got a very nose up attitude, which I don't really like. Kind Kind of makes me feel like we're struggling to stay at that speed or stay at that altitude. Now that we've made the turn, we are going to descend to 3,500. Descending, it's kind of annoying. So localizer has been captured.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to land. Please remain seated until we have stopped.
Alright, glide slope's also been captured now. Good. So I'm gonna drop the gear.
Sync rate. Terrain.
So way below our glide slope right now. Alright. Okay, so that didn't work out.
1,000.
I'm just gonna try and pull up for now and just get a little bit of altitude. I'm just watching our glide slope right now, just to make sure we can get back on
1,000
path. As I said, this is the part of the this plane that I still haven't quite gotten the hang of yet. But I can assure you that we will land safely. So we're pretty much all configured at this point for landing. It's pretty bumpy today though. So I'm just going to trim this out a little bit. We're getting back on glide path now, which is good. I'm going to do about 140 knots. Make sure I'm centered as well.
One thousand.
So we're good to go now. Just gonna turn on our taxi lights as well. So we're holding steady at 140 knots roundabout. Just sort of where I want to be. I'm really just hand flying right now.
$400. Too low. Terrain.
Getting high.
300. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Flaps. 200.
Oh, way too high.
Sink rate. 100.
Alright.
Sink rate.
50. Lined up.
40. 30. 20. 10.
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
Alright, so there was nothing smooth about that landing, but whew, we got down. I think I forgot to arm the spoilers as well, so I'm pretty sure they're not up. Oh, they are up. Cool. Okay. So put this down. Just gonna raise the flaps now. Okay, so that's gonna probably win the award for the most horrible approach and landing, but you know, we got there eventually. Alright.
Contact flaps.
Just trying to get the plane moving now. Alright, so landing lights are off. Turn our reversers off. Don't need those. Landing lights off. Strobes off. Let's get the APU started as well. Flight director can come off, and probes can come off as well. We're just going to park right here. Okay. Parking brake on. Engine shut off. Calling the jetway.
Door.
Open the door. Cargo. We are good to go, folks. Now I can stay on the landing lights off. Alright, so here we are. Spoilers are still up for some reason. Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed the flight. Why are my engines still on? I'm gonna shut them off. There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the door is open. Please make your way to the exit and please make sure you have all your personal items and carry-on luggage.
Alright, so that was a bit of a train wreck at the end of the day. But we managed to get the plane down in one piece. And we are in Jamaica, folks. So I know that wasn't the best, that wasn't the most organized compared to a lot of other YouTubers out there, but I hope that you were able to kind of get an idea of how everything works. And I'm going to be doing more flights with the CRJ, and hopefully things will get a little smoother as they go along. Alright, so thank you very much for watching. It's your boy Flyland Guy. Take care, stay fly, and I'll talk to you on the next flight. Peace.